Hello and welcome to the Philosopher's Angle, your daily French philosophical take on the news headlines. This is an AI-generated podcast based directly on the writings of the philosophers discussed. But like all AI, it can make mistakes. In the news today, October 15th, 2024, Kamala Harris has labeled Donald Trump a huge risk for America and unstable and unhinged after he referred to Democratic opponents as the enemy within. At a rally in Pennsylvania, Harris showed clips of Trump's remarks and warned that a second term would be dangerous. Trump had previously suggested using the military against those he considers the enemy within, including Democrats who disagree with him. Harris's campaign also released an ad featuring former Trump administration officials warning about the dangers of another Trump term. Commentary inspired by the writings of Jacques Derrida. In the midst of a heated presidential campaign, Kamala Harris has sounded the alarm on Donald Trump's rhetoric, labeling him a huge risk for America and unstable and unhinged. But what lies beneath Trump's words, which have conjured up the specter of an enemy within? Is it merely a figure of speech, or does it reveal a more profound dynamic at play in American politics? To answer this question, we must delve into the philosophical underpinnings of enmity and its construction. As I argued in my work on the supplement, this concept is neither a plus nor a minus, neither an outside nor the complement of an inside, nor vice versa, of grammatology. In other words, the enemy within is not simply an external threat that can be added or subtracted from the national body. It is a construct that supplements and replaces the very notion of American identity. Trump's rhetoric masterfully exploits this logic. By labeling Democrats as the enemy within, he creates a sense of urgency and danger, blurring the lines between patriotism and partisanship. This move is not merely an astute tactical maneuver. It is a replacement for the traditional norms of democratic discourse. The enemy within becomes a supplement that replaces the thing it adds to, in this case, the very fabric of American democracy. But how does this logic of exclusion operate? As I noted in Writing Indifference, the logic of exclusion is always a logic of inclusion, and the logic of inclusion is always a logic of exclusion. In other words, Trump's rhetoric creates an us versus them mentality, where those who are included within the American fold are defined against those who are excluded, namely Democrats and other perceived enemies of the state. This dynamic has far-reaching implications for our understanding of democracy. By constructing enmity in this way, Trump's rhetoric undermines the very principles of democratic inclusion and exclusion. The supplement that is the enemy within replaces the traditional boundaries between friend and foe, creating a fluid and ever-shifting landscape of enmity. Furthermore, this logic of exclusion has real-world consequences. Trump's suggestion to use the military against those he considers the enemy within raises disturbing questions about the limits of executive power and the erosion of civil liberties. As I argued in Of Grammatology, the supplement is not only an addition, but also a replacement. It replaces the thing it adds to. In this case, Trump's rhetoric replaces the rule of law with a militarized logic of enmity. Harris's campaign has rightly sounded the alarm on these developments, warning that another Trump term would be dangerous. But we must go further in our analysis. We must recognize that Trump's rhetoric is not merely a product of his own unstable personality. It is a stark reflection of a deeper crisis in American democracy, a crisis that threatens to upend the very foundations of our democratic system. As we navigate this treacherous landscape, we would do well to remember the words of wisdom from my work on the supplement. The thing which adds itself is not a positive addition of grammatology. In other words, Trump's rhetoric may seem like an addition to our national discourse, but it is in fact a replacement for the very principles that underpin American democracy. In conclusion, the enemy within is more than just a figure of speech. It is a supplement that has replaced the traditional boundaries between friend and foe. As we move forward in this presidential campaign, we must be vigilant in our analysis of Trump's rhetoric and its implications for American democracy. We must recognize the logic of exclusion at play and resist the temptation to reduce complex issues to simplistic binaries. Only then can we hope to restore the principles of democratic inclusion and exclusion that have been eroded by Trump's militarized logic of enmity, a microcosm of the broader struggle to preserve our democratic way of life. Thank you for listening to today's episode of The Philosopher's Angle. Be sure to come back tomorrow for another reflective take on the day's news.